Hey,
Hey Luke,
Chad.
how's it going?
Good. I wasn't sure. I clicked on one link and it told me I had to be registered. I was wondering if I had forgotten a step and was going to be coming in late, but
Yeah, I
not,
have no
not
idea.
the case.
Which link did you click on?
I don't know. I found one ultimately. I actually went to the registration thing. I typed in my info. It told me I was already registered, and then magically it appeared. So,
That's great.
no, no harm, no foul.
All right. Well, I don't.
Hello.
I do want to make it easier for folks. So if you do see issues, I mean, this goes for anyone. Let me know, and I'll at least try to find ways to improve that. Yeah, Adri, how are you doing?
Good, thank you.
Let's see.
I'm traveling tomorrow, so I'm
Yeah,
gonna actually take an Irish exit relatively early in this whole thing, probably in like a half
yeah,
an hour or
yeah.
so.
I
But
was gonna make this one completely casual, and honestly, I didn't know if anybody would show up. It's that time of year, right?
Yeah, maybe summer,
all right,
Yeah.
summer vacation.
Yeah. So that's part of the reason why I made the topic a little bit more open. If we do want to talk about a virtual conference, which I think is a good idea, um, as a potential topic, I think Faye said that she might show up. We'll see. But she might have some news to share
oh,
from like the Drupal Association and some of the folks that she's been talking to. But if not, that's fine too. We'll catch up with people when they're ready. But yeah, vacation is prime time right now. Yeah, my wife and I went to Savory Island a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago now. But yeah, it was actually absolutely gorgeous there. Um,
Where the location?
it's like if you go up Sunshine Coast all the way up to Lund, which is the
Uh-huh.
end of Highway 101. For reference, the other end of Highway 101, I think, is in Chile. So it goes all the way down into South America. It's one of the longest highways in the world. Um, but yeah, one end is Lund right here. And you go there and then you take a ferry, 15 minutes on a ferry. And it's this beautiful tiny island that looks like a banana. It's
Uh-huh.
about a kilometer wide and I think maybe seven long, maybe probably
It's a
a lot
small
longer than
one,
that.
yeah?
Yeah, it's really small, but sandy beaches and really, really nice.
So
Definitely worth a
very
trip. If you need to get away and still stay somewhat local, it's really good. It's like stepping back in time though. It's like stepping back into like the 1960s. It's a bunch of hippies and off-grid cabins.
yeah, really.
Yeah,
Uh,
really cool. All right. Is that Andres? Nice to
Yes,
meet you.
hello. Yeah, likewise.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. And I think Jana, is that let me know if I mispronounce any names.
Yeah,
Well,
Jana is correct. Hello. Hello from
Hi.
Australia.
Oh,
Hello,
nice.
You said
hello.
Sunshine Coast. I'm like, oh, Sunshine Coast is just
Yeah,
like 1 hour north from here, but
not that
I'm
one.
in Brisbane
Yeah,
in
anytime
Queensland.
somebody searches for Sunshine Coast where I am, I have to always qualify it by saying British Columbia. And it's like right across the water from Vancouver Island for anybody familiar with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us. It's very late or early for you.
Three
It's
hours, yeah.
11 o'clock a.m.,
11 o'clock.
so
Okay.
it's
It's tomorrow
perfect.
for
Yeah.
for us.
Mm.
Well, happy Thursday. Living in the future.
Yep.
Very
okay.
cool. And
Ah,
Didn't know where you
our
were.
time is forward from Sydney, right? From Australia.
Yeah,
Our
so
Pacific time zone.
we're minus 10 from or plus 10 from London
okay.
Oh,
and plus 8, I guess, plus another 8 for the for Vancouver. So it's 18 hours difference,
Okay. Yeah, that makes
I
sense.
think.
yeah. If you're interesting, Jen, yeah, today was not too bad day.
Where are
We
you?
I mean, here in Vancouver, not too bad day because we're in the future.
Oh,
past, and I just let you know that your day going to be pretty good.
no, I think I'm in the future.
Yeah,
You are not.
it's Thursday morning for her.
Yeah.
But,
Sorry to
Yeah,
break it to
really.
you.
Yeah. Okay,
We're
yeah.
on the other
2027, we
side of the
still on
Pacific
November.
Ocean.
Okay.
yeah, the international dateline
Mm.
goes kind of close to
It's
Hawaii, I
o-
guess.
it's only like well, Hawaii is yesterday as well. Like it's cool
Yeah.
when we fly to Hawaii. When you fly back, you kind of gain a day, or you
Uh,
lose a day. But when you fly into Hawaii, you gain a day. And, it's only like New Zealand in front of us.
yeah,
Land of the rising sun.
and all too often New Zealand is just not included on maps.
Yeah, but they have a really good Drupal community. And actually, if you have any announcements in the end, I can
Yeah.
announce the Drupal South, a little conference that we have here.
Yeah, by all
And it's
means.
going to be in New Zealand
Yeah,
in May next
if you
year.
want, do you have a link for that I
Yep.
can put in
Mhm.
our meetup notes? If you put it in the chat, I'll just copy it in there.
Yeah,
But
because
yeah,
I think there are, it's a good place to visit. It's a good place to catch up with other Drupalers
oh, for sure.
and see some sites.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the many bucket list things. I'm actually from the East Coast and moved out here to the
Mhm.
West Coast a few years ago. And now that we're closer, things like Japan and Australia are just
Mm.
a little bit more, not much, but a little bit more accessible. So those are very much on the bucket list for us. Yeah, if you put the link in there, but if you want, so I'll copy that to our document. And while I'm thinking of it, anybody that's new,
Mhm.
I do kind of a little bit of a preamble before we really get started. The first few minutes are just meets and greets and networking and whatnot, and then we can get into a topic if we choose. There's a document that I just posted in the chat. We'll update this. I'll handle any of the edits. Don't worry about typing anything in there. But this is just some of the basic information about our meetup. There's an overview tab on the left-hand side, and you can also see our previous meetups, the meetup notes from there. So if you wanted to look at the recordings from previous ones, you can certainly do that. When we are done with this, I'll fill in any sort of details. Since you are attending, I assume that some of you have Drupal.org usernames. If you do, share them in the chat because I can give you credit for having participated in today's meetup. So you just get Drupal.org credit. If you don't want credit, don't even bother, and I won't chase you down. But if you do put it in there, that's great. A few other, I guess, points of order. This is recorded. And there are two reasons why we record this, because as a community, an open source community, we do want to support each other with the information that we share. And if somebody can't attend, we want to offer the affordance to them of any of the information that we share. Anything that you say in the chat will also go into the meetup notes, so you can take a look at the previous meetups to see how we do that. Obviously, keep it family friendly if you can, because these recordings do go up on YouTube. The meetup notes are publicly accessible. And if there are any code of conduct issues, please let me know. And there's a resolution team that we can bring up. But I'll be honest, for the past few meetups that we've had no issues so far with anybody misbehaving. And if need be, we can always kick you out if you're misbehaving too. But so far, no issues. We do set up this meetup focused on the Pacific time zone, and that is not to be exclusive, but rather to be inclusive of many geographies. Obviously, if 6 to 8 p.m. Pacific time is your preferred time because that's the time zone you're in, or you can make it because you're in Australia, that's great. We welcome absolutely everyone, but we did schedule it based on Pacific time zone. So folks who are getting out of work can get home if they have a commute. and then settle in and have a meetup. So because I'm remote, I'm like 3-4 hours from Vancouver. If I wanted to go to a meetup there, it would be a whole day affair, which isn't bad if I already have other plans in Vancouver. But it made me realize a year ago that I'd really like to still do meetups, and I'm sure other folks do too. Even if you are capable of commuting to a meetup, sometimes you just want to stay home. Sometimes you have family obligations. So the idea of virtual meetups is to make them more accessible. And if you want to make one for your own time zone, do it, because people will show up. Just set good topics. If you need any help setting it up, I'm happy to share anything that I've done. So that's the preamble. That's how we set things up. If you have any questions, let me know. And yeah, thanks for sharing that link. I'll put that in our resources section of our notes now. But since we have a few new faces, if you want, we can kind of go around the room, virtual room as it is, to kind of introduce ourselves, say who we are, say what we do, say what you're up to, anything that you might want to promote, and then just kind of pass the torch to the next person on the list. So I'll go first, and then I'll pass to the next person, and the next person can pass to the next person. So I'm Chad Hester. I've been in the Drupal community for 16 years. I've been in web development for about 25 years, which is almost as old as most of the modern web. And I've had almost every job that you can have in a digital agency, except for being a visual designer, mostly because I just didn't feel like doing that part. I did go to school for that, but I actually mostly went to school for computer science. I personally enjoy things like information architecture, content strategy. Product ownership is my favorite role of all things, is just really getting in and just helping guide entire teams, understanding organization needs, understanding user needs, branching that together with technology like Drupal. So that's who I am. And as I said earlier, I started this meetup group, if you will, late last year. And we've had quite a few so far. So I'll pass it on to Luke to introduce yourself and then go from there.
All right. Hey, folks. Luke McCormick, sell ear on various things. I've been building websites since 1994, I guess.
Nice.
Yeah. Before it was available, before the web was available on like Macs or Windows, so you had to get to a Unix workstation to get to the first versions of Mosaic. But anyway, I can do a lot of that. I do a lot of like old man like recounting of things. Um, been doing Drupal since 2009. I'm particularly actually interested just to bring it home to sort of the Pacific time users group here. I think this is a super important thing because I feel like a backwater sometimes in our time zone. You look at the jobs that are available, and they're heavily East Coast weighted. Um, you know, maybe 50% of them say, Eastern or Central time. Although there's enough people from like other countries that are, chiming in here that's a different thing. Nonetheless, we are the Pacific Time users group. So there's that. Let me throw it over to next in line here would be Andri Katerin.
Yeah, me. Next,
Yeah,
next in line, me. Andrew. Yeah. I need to
Andy.
change. And Andrew. Yeah, I think it's simpler. Finally, I just need to create account in Google Zoom, but in Google in Zoom. I just still didn't have any account, and I don't know why I have this label. Yeah. Anyway, about me, I think it's my next another one self-presentation. I've been in Drupal since Drupal 5 version. Yeah, I think around 15 years experience, not only with the Drupal, overall, I mean, development experience. Latest, my what I am doing and what my work requiring for me doing is artificial intelligence. I took a couple courses for the artificial intelligence, and this is LLM systems, Microsoft Azure, and yeah, pretty interesting and cool feature. I'm going to like improve myself in this direction. However, yeah, Drupal is my old friend. We love each other, fallen in love with each other, me and the Drupal. And yeah, that's about me. And I'm still improving my English. And yeah, it's thank you.
Yeah, it is getting better. So
Yeah,
don't give
yeah,
up.
yeah. Especially when sometimes I need to start speaking and not try to not look smart. Just use my simple English as I can, because sometimes when you meet new people, you try to some kind, I don't know, impress there, and I noticed that my English just go down. But when I start speaking, yeah, I think I can see that a little bit I have little bit fluent and can I don't know. At least I can convey my thoughts to the people. Okay, thank you.
I think you're fine. I don't think you have to worry about your fluency at all. You're good.
It's not. I would like to be better. Okay, I don't know who is next. Andres. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's right pronunciation, Andres.
Yeah. Well, I've been called worse. Don't worry about it.
Okay, yeah, because I have this similar problem. All time people try to pronounce my first name right, but for me it doesn't matter.
It's sometimes difficult, but I think it's just fine. I just say, call me Andrew, you know. But okay, so my name is Andres. I live in the Okanagan in British Columbia. Um, I stumbled upon this meeting in Drupal.org. I hope I am in the correct place. I'm fairly new to Drupal, actually. I'm a noob. I just started about 5 months ago. So I started with Drupal 10. Um, and like Andrico said before, I have been pretty much fallen in love with Drupal. It is nice, pretty amazing. The community is great. More about myself, I graduated college this year, although I have been working as a software developer about a year. I did some co-op and stuff like that. But I am still pretty noob. I need to get better. Drupal hooks are kicking my butt, and but I really like Drupal. I will hand it over to Jana.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jenna. I'm from Australia, originally one long time ago from Russia. I've in the Drupal community, I've been around for about 10 years. Also, I still consider myself a beginner because there's just so many things to learn in Drupal, and but I came over into Drupal from consultant background of SharePoint and React and Node and everything, and it's just like, oh, why do I need to use the proprietary crap that SharePoint does? If anyone heard, SharePoint has a 0-day vulnerability at the moment. That's the thing that I worked on like 15 years ago. Some people still have that. That's disturbing. And it's probably mostly government organizations. And then React, you always build everything from scratch. It's just annoying. It's like, why do you need to do it again over and over again? Anyway, Drupal is fine. I'm focusing on the security at the moment, and I'm actually going to my first DrupalCon in Austria this year. So that should be fine. I'm presenting on security by design talk.
Nice.
So yeah, check it out in Austria or in online when it's going to be. Also here in Brisbane, we do have or in Australia and New Zealand, we have Drupal South. It's kind of an organization to keep a local small conference going. It's about 250 people each year. 1 year is in Australia, next year is in Wellington in New Zealand. Come fly. I think there might be direct flights from Canada, from Wellington, from Vancouver, because Brisbane has direct flights to Vancouver and Sydney and Melbourne for sure. So yeah, check it out. Who's next? Rashmit, over to you. Or Pooja?
Hello everyone. I'm Rashmi. I'm from India, and I'm from AdWeb Solutions. I'm the community manager there. So I basically I love to connect. So that's what my role is there. I love to, communicate a lot, and I try to contribute in Drupal community. I'm very much young and very much new at this. So basically, this event and everything would be like a very good learning point for me. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, nice.
And who should go next after you? Basically like passing the speaking stick.
I can go next.
All right.
Hey, I'm Mike McCaffrey, work for Calmona, live in Portland. I have no idea what other questions we're asking because I just got here. Is there anything else you want to know?
It's just intros right now. Intros, then passing the stick.
I have no idea who went and who hasn't, so someone volunteer, please.
The question is, are you going to WordPress conference?
I'm not
if you're
going
in
to
Portland?
I'm not going to a WordPress conference.
They just having a conference next week in Portland.
Yeah. No, wasn't planning on it, Yeah.
So I'll go. I haven't gone yet. I got on late too. So Bob Snodgrass, I'm from St. Charles, Illinois. Run the Fox Valley Drupal Meetup over here since 2009. And Chicago area, and I have a small company, Net Community. We've been doing Drupal since then. So
Who
nice hasn't gone? Who's next?
I think Pooja, have you gone? I don't think so. If you can't go, that's okay. So for the folks who joined a little bit later, which is absolutely fine, this meeting is recorded. It's recorded partly for code of conduct purposes and partly just to make sure that we share what it is that we're talking about with the rest of the world. They will be posted on YouTube. So just keep that in mind. If you don't want to share your screen or your face or your voice, you don't have to. You can just lurk in the background. That's acceptable too. But we talk about Drupal here. And the meetup was originally just to try to provide something for people who don't want to go to a meetup in person or can't, maybe because you live very remotely. And we scheduled it for folks in the Pacific time zone, just after they get out of work. But absolutely everybody's welcome. And it looks like quite a few people from outside of our time zone are showing up. So that's fantastic. If anybody outside of our time zone wants to set up a similar thing, just let me know. Happy to help you through what it is that I've learned and done in the past year with this. But it really is ours. It's not mine. It's ours. Just like the community is ours. Open source, right? So I didn't really have a set topic. I originally wanted to talk about maybe doing a virtual conference. Some of the folks that I wanted to include in that conversation aren't here. We can talk about that if that's something that you're interested in. Or if somebody else has a burning question or topic that you want to explore, preferably Drupal related, we can do that too. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a doctor. I'm staying clear of those two topics. I can do awkward silence all day too.
It's only awkward if we let it get awkward.
So
we could also just be tired together.
Yeah, I also realize at the end of the day, or even sometimes at the beginning of the day, we've already ground into our work. I've actually been working on a proposal for Kalamata for the past couple of hours. But I think unless anybody has anything else, please interrupt me if you do. We did want to talk a little bit about the idea of a virtual conference because we've been having some success with doing these meetups. I've heard mixed things from folks. Some said that they tried and it failed. You know, you lay out a conference like you would a DrupalCon or a camp or a summit, and people just don't treat it the same way that they do an in-person conference. And I actually deeply understand that perspective, and I want to explore that a little bit more because, well, I still see personally, I see value in remote conferencing because we've done it before. When we had COVID, how many conferences went virtual just to continue to have something? But on the other hand, you don't get that same like hallway track that you would in person. That idea of networking and mingling with your peers, getting to know new people, catching up with old friends, that sort of thing. And I understand that perspective. I think that can be slightly mitigated by giving people chat rooms and things like that to mingle in. But I want to open this up just for the rest of the group here. I can talk for days about my ideas about a virtual conference, but what are your thoughts? Do you want one? Would you attend one?
I would definitely attend one.
If it was a good time and decent topics, I would certainly attend one. I don't know how many of you might be on the event organizers Slack channel, but there's been some conversation there about trying to kind of meet a middle road tack of having a Zoom in conjunction with multiple meetups within a time zone. And that was one thing that people had kicked around, and I have not yet reached out to other people in the central US time zone, but that's certainly something that I want to do in conjunction with our Fox Valley Drupal users group. So the idea being that we would have a Zoom meeting in conjunction with an in-person meeting at different locations in the time zone area, kind of at the same time. A little bit of a side topic there to your conference idea there, Chad, but
yeah. Well, I think that's where a lot of these things are born. We have a lot of local meetups. Some of them are virtual, very few though. And I think some people have toyed with a virtual format, even with their local meetups here and there. But I think it's good to explore that a little bit further, what it is that you're talking about, because this is how these things come about. But I think an actual conference where you have a program, people doing either talks or panels or lightning talks, birds of a feather room, those types of thing. I think that requires a little bit more coordination.
Yep.
And depending on how you approach it, it can be real ragtag. you don't necessarily need to have a platform to do that. I think there were a few different platforms that we talked about. And I do want to explore the possibility of that, but there's an expense to those things. So I think there may be two approaches or two roads to kind of go down. One is the real Wild West DIY, do it yourself, for anyone not familiar with that one, where there's no worry about funding. You just show up. And we could potentially have multiple rooms that host and just put it up on a website and go from there. The other route is similar to what DrupalCon did when COVID hit. They did DrupalCon Global. Obviously, I think the concern everybody will have is it's not really global if people are asleep or exhausted from work. It does have the added benefit of you don't have travel, you don't have lodging, you don't have food expenses and all those other things that come with going to an in-person conference. So maybe the time shift within reason is okay for some people. But doing something larger scale like that would really need to start vetting things like sponsorships and other sort of funding sources to get that going. And we have people that can help us with that. There's some assistance potentially, I think, from Faye and her role with the Drupal Association. She was talking about that. I'm not going to speak for her, but she did at least take that to the DA to see what are people thinking about. So I'll kick it back to the group. Anybody else have any thoughts about not just wanting to attend, but what format would you want? Would you want it to be within your time zone? Are you okay to be a little bit flexible if it's a matter of being available? Would you like to see multiple conferences over the course of potentially a couple of months? So that way we kind of space them out, maybe one per time zone, and maybe coordinate it like that.
The
I think
conferences. Sorry, go, Rashmi.
no, sure, you continue.
Okay. There are multiple issues with the conferences at the moment. First, people don't even want to attend. We ran a couple of conferences here in Australia. They are so small. That's face-to-face conferences, but with the meetups and online meetups, the biggest question will be is how to get people to actually attend, even if it's online. It's we have online a couple of meetups here that are just like 5 people, 3 people, including the organizers. You try to advertise it everywhere where it's possible. It's just I don't know what's happening with the interest. So yes, if it will be a big event, well promoted, and the speakers would be there's of course always volunteer speakers, but actually bring someone from the community who is well known and who is a good speaker. So that a couple of really good presenters as well. And the other thing, who is going to be responsible for the conference? It's a lot of work to set the conference, even if it's a online conference as well. And about the time zone, I think it's all right. Just focus. If whoever is organizing, they should organize it around their time zone, because there will be recordings of the conference. So whoever is, because I presented at the DrupalCon virtual in 2020, it was 3 a.m. in the morning in Brisbane. It's like, oh, well, it's COVID, no one sleeps anyway during the night. So that was fine. But if there is this thing, people always will be complaining. It's like, oh, it's not in my time zone. It's like, well, we cannot do it for everyone. There will be recordings available. So it's just some things that can be just said, like it's still volunteer based events. Yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Rasmit, you had a something?
Yeah, I totally agree with Jana. The virtual meets, there's so much internet and they're very flexible. So obviously, I'm from India and it's 6:30 a.m. here. So that's always gonna be an issue with somebody. Like it's gonna set right with somebody's time zone. It's not gonna set right, but that can be manageable. But to organize an actual meetup to a place, it's kind of a headache, organizing it and everything. By the virtual meetup, everybody can attend it by the comfort of their home or anywhere. So I think that's more doable. And yes, I would definitely love to attend more of those in the coming months. So yeah, that's my.
Yeah, great feedback. I really like what both of you have said. Um, and I think you're spot on. That's part of why when I named this virtual meetup, I was very specific about it being time zone based. Not because I wanted to be exclusive. If anything, I want to be as inclusive as possible. But there's a that reality of not everybody's going to be awake. Not everybody's going to have the energy to learn or socialize or just even participate in some shape or form. And I love the recordings. The recordings are always good, but there is something to be said about being able to ask a question to a presenter or participate in a birds of a feather, roundtable discussion or something like that.
Hmm.
So I think creating those opportunities are important, but at least my theory, we can have theories, right? Um, is that if we start small, like a camp or a summit, something where you get a handful of speakers, you set some attendance limit so you don't have 1,000 people try to crash a server that can't handle that sort of throughput. There are limits on this Zoom, for example, has 100. So if we hit that, nobody's coming in. So if we approach it lightly, I think it serves as a prototype. And I think all of us are in the design mind of doing things because we work in the web. We can scale up from there. And whatever we learn from that small prototype, we can improve and scale, improve and scale. So that's at least the theory that I have. I'd love to see it play out, but I feel like starting small is also a formula for success. However, the force function that was COVID also proved that we could have a successful DrupalCon in that format. And yes, it was time zone based, but we were able to pull it off in at least a very large scale format. It was an interesting sort of thing. I'd like to see us get back to that, but I also want to maintain a level of sensitivity to people who do live around the world and maybe consider making it time zone centric where maybe you have something that caters to everyone around the world. And I would love to present at something that's outside of my time zone or attend something outside of my time zone to perhaps commingle with people I otherwise wouldn't ever see. So I think there are some potential opportunities there, even if it is 3 in the morning.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that.
So,
Um,
sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you were in the middle of talking. I didn't know if you were just agreeing or had additional point to make.
Go ahead.
Okay. Um, I think the one downside that I've seen of virtual conferences is that the traditional presentation mode doesn't really work because there's really no incentive at all to like log in at that time because it's going to be posted later. Like, if you're watching a video of a presentation, it could be happening this year, it could be happening 5 years ago. You can watch any presentation that has happened. So I think that like having a long presentation isn't necessarily the way to go. But at the same time, birds of a feather sessions can be a bit too hit or miss and you don't know who's going and stuff like that. So it might be interesting to have kind of a combination session where there is like a organizer maybe do like a 10, 15 minute or, something like that presentation followed up by a discussion that you have to be there to take part in. So,
Sure.
to have someone, that person who's doing the presentation is going to be there and that they're going to say some things and get things going and probably give you something and then, let you then have a discussion about it because otherwise again it could be any year.
Yeah,
um
that's all good
So,
feedback. One thing that I don't want to forget the thought. One thing I did consider, sort of like how you go to a bookstore and you can meet the author, get the book signed, that sort of thing. I think part of the virtue of attending something live is having that interaction, not only with the author of the book, so to speak, but also with other people who are there attending with the same interests, talking in a chat, that sort of thing. And it's less disruptive than being in person during a talk. So, in theory, maybe you have things that are also potentially pre-recorded if they are in fact long form presentations where you then have a discussion about that topic, and it's not even a presentation at that point. Like you said, it's a birds of a feather on a topic that can have some resources that you share well ahead of any would-be conference for people to consider.
That's interesting. I think scheduling, there might be things to do there. Like, if people want to present things at these presentation birds of feather, they could propose those. They could say the times that they're available, like give a range. And then other people go and say, oh, whether they're interested in going to particular things, and they could all provide a range that they're available. And then, just compute the overlap between when the person can give the presentation and when the most people want to go to the presentation. And
Yeah.
you'd probably end up getting clusters of people living in various places around the world where, they're willing to give the presentation at those times and other people willing to give it to them. They sort of cluster around those times. So it wouldn't be trying to spread everything out 24 hours, but it would naturally happen at times when people are available.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I still think that banding within a time zone may be good for any specific event. Because otherwise you get I don't know how many of you play video games online, but depending on what time of day you're playing, you get completely different groups of people from around the world in, a group server. And I would see what you're talking about here, Mike, as potentially somewhat similar. For better or worse. I mean, I think that's what it is. And you could have the same topic repeated in the format that you're talking about, so people could attend multiple versions. But yeah, I think that's interesting. I think what you're doing is bringing up an important distinction about a virtual event needs a sensitivity to alternate formats than what you would have in an in-person. And I think coming up with ideas for what those formats could be, and then forming a committee to help vote on and then subsequently plan such an event, I think would be really good. But this sort of community feedback and discussion, I think, is kind of the foundation of finding something that would be potentially successful. Anyone else?
One thing that we found during COVID, we kept Fox Valley Drupal going, and we had quite a good attendance through that period of time. We usually had a topic, and it was more of a introduction, present something in a quick format like a lightning talk if you had something to present, and then discussion. And usually, even though we might have 20, 25 people on a call, it worked out pretty well. Most people just did a quick introduction. Few people would do short presentations, and the discussions were always really good. So we were pretty successful with that format. Now we've opened up to in person, and we've been pretty small attendance because Fox Valley, out in the Fox Valley area, is not Chicago proper, right? It's 40 miles to the west, and we have people geographically very dispersed around the area. So the in-person is harder to have people show
sure.
up for.
And I could absolutely see this being a potential good venue, if you will, for some of the alternate things that you see at things like DrupalCon, like Contrib. You get lots of people who have no idea how to do Contrib, and you can do clinics to help them get oriented, and mentors that can show up, which would be a very healthy step for our community. It's not to negate or neglect what already exists at those sort of events, but it gives a different type of venue for that. And then getting in and starting to do some things like pair programming to really put a dent in some of the issue queues that we have in Drupal.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the biggest benefits that our community has. We have a really good credit system in Drupal, one of the best in our industry. And I think the more we can promote that and leverage that, including in virtual events, the better. Speaking of, anybody that didn't share your Drupal.org username in the chat, please do so because I want to give you credit for participating in today's meetup. Anyone else?
As I
Yeah,
understand,
so sorry, I'll
please
just
go ahead.
quickly. Yeah, this the presentations as presentations, yeah, you can watch them later. But for example, running it as a Drupal camp where you actually spend a bit more time on how to do things or how to do things in Drupal specifically, like, for example, running an ACA workshop or how to contribute workshop. That would be quite interesting. And also, who is the Andres? You are the brand new to Drupal. What would be think about after Andre will speak? Think about what would you like to see at the presentation at the that kind of event as well, because we need to try to attract new people into Drupal because everyone most people here are like 10 plus years in Drupal. How do we get the youngsters? How do we get the graduates? How do we get into unis as well? So that those are the very beginner oriented workshops could be really good. Andre, you.
Yeah. What I would like to say, it's about this is virtual meetup. And as I understood right, we going to have like a technical part and some kind of theory where we share some knowledge, some new idea, and technical part it's about programming, right? And I don't know how we can divide this one because, for example, some people would like to participate only on the technical part. Some people would like to participate only on the theory. I just don't see it's clear how we can arrange this one. And another one, what Jana mentioned, it's about how many people can participate. In our Pacific Virtual Meetup, we didn't have this problem when nobody show up, right? Chat, yeah. All time we have at least 5-6 people all time. Yeah, we had. But for example, for the future, we should consider this problem. And another one, for example, some people who would like to present their presentation, they called chat and told him, yeah, we're ready to present. And in the final moment, they didn't show up. What we should do in this case, how we can handle this situation.
Yeah, I think to tackle each of those, first off, anybody new to Drupal, there's something that my friend Carlos and Mike Anello put together called the Drupal Inexperience Initiative, or IXP. So I put a link for that in the chat, and share it with everybody, even if you're seasoned Drupal veteran, like share it with people who aren't and that are just getting into it. But the reason I bring that up is, it's one thing to kind of learn through trial and error. I can tell you, it's very expensive. I'm mostly self-taught, and it is a very expensive way to learn. But if you have a mentor, that can make a world of difference in terms of at least just finding your way, getting your hands dirty, kind of finding, as we say in the community, the Drupal way of doing things. Understanding the APIs themselves, understanding how to actually, build something that's effective. There's lots of ways to put the Legos together, but there's better ways to put the Legos together for certain types of things. And depending on what your interests are. I mean, I personally love backend programming. I hate front-end programming with a passion, but I understand that I need to have a sensitivity to it to interact with it at least. So for me, I love APIs, but when it comes to CSS and JavaScript, I leave that to people far better than me. the IXP, or an experience initiative, if you will, is something that will allow folks who are new to Drupal to get real world experience. So, Andres, if you don't have someone that you can do that work with currently, it's something where you can sign up and be led down that path and then compensated for your efforts. And the people who pull you under their wing, they also get compensated in some shape or form in our community. So I don't know every single bit of the details, but start there. Mike Anello, he's the guy that taught me Drupal 10 coming from Drupal 7. We did a mini series on the Talking Drupal podcast. And that was really good for me because I got really heavy into strategy, solutions architecture, design, and stuff like that for many years. And I wanted to brush up my development skills, if for no other reason than to speak competently about how Drupal 10 and now Drupal 11 works. But also, if I felt like dabbling in code, I at least feel oriented and capable. So I think the reason I bring up Mike Anello is if you want to learn Drupal quickly and effectively and efficiently, he's a great resource. It's Drupal Easy is his program. He has a podcast and he also has a course. The course does cost money, but it is very rock solid. I'd highly recommend it. There are other resources like books and obviously other online resources. If you aren't in Drupal Slack, join it. It is a fantastic resource when you have very specific issues that can't be solved through other means. But I find that's a bit more advanced. People are nice though in our community. They will at least point you in the right direction a lot of times. And as you gain more knowledge, you gain more confidence, and then you start to know where to find things. In terms of attendance, I want to flip over to that point. That's a really good point. I think none of you were required to come here. It's all at will, but you had an interest. Now, I think if we have a real DIY sort of conference, camp, summit, whatever you call it, there's a much higher risk of people not attending because they don't really have to. How many times have you signed up for a webinar online and just not even gone and just saw the recording? So there has to be some sort of incentive to be there in person if we go that route. So that's why I think starting small might be good because then you have a higher concentration of more interested parties. That's both speakers and attendees. So I think that's something to at least explore, but you have a very valid concern in that. Flip side of that is if you have a paid conference, usually when I pay for stuff, I attend them. So there's a financial incentive there. If your company is paying for it, you may have an even higher incentive or a lower incentive. It depends on it. Higher if they expect you to report back on your experience, lower if they don't care. They just paid for it and it's not money out of your pocket. So I think those are all valid concerns that we need to kind of put on the table, just like the format of things, to explore that. And in terms of, finding the speakers, organizing the events, I've helped organize DrupalCon. I've helped organize camps and summits. It is a lot of work. There's absolutely no doubt about it. The bigger it is, the more work it is, the more speakers there are, the more fundraising, the more promotion you have to do, the more work it is. There's no doubt about it. And there are some people that are better than others at certain jobs, if you will. Like I hate promoting stuff. I don't really do that that well. But I'm really good at setting schedules, reviewing sessions, talking to people individually to see if they want to do stuff like that. That's the function that I typically
And
have
leading
when doing that.
meetups.
Yeah, that too. But and Andrew, I think you had a good point too. Like these virtual meetups, we a lot of times will set a topic and then maybe somebody doesn't attend that I really wanted to. And I want to be sensitive at the virtual meetup side of things. I really want it to be kind of like come and go as you please. But if everybody who is considering going wants to hear you talk about something, that's when I want a little bit of a tighter commitment just from the meetup level. So for example, we have a topic that we want to cover soon about an inclusive community and neurodivergent individuals. Me, I have ADHD and autism. So for me, I have a hypersensitivity to that topic. But I also want to make sure that we have people who are capable of talking competently on that topic, not just people talking around it that don't know what they're really talking about. So just like today, I wasn't sure if folks would show up, but I think it's good to be gentle with these meetups. And that's why I said it can be an open topic if you want it to be. So pivoting from that, back to our topic, or if you want to change the subject, you can. Any other thoughts about virtual camp, summit, conference, whatever we're calling this thing?
I think, yeah,
Yeah.
let's start do it.
Hi
Okay.
guys, I showed up a bit late, and the reason as Rashmit and I belong from the same company and same time zone. So it's a very good morning for us. It started at 6:30. Eventually, I'm having a baby of 18 months. So it's like whole night is something I cannot like able to sleep properly. But yes, as I started for this login, he again started crying. So that's the reason I was quiet when you guys are doing the introduction. But yes, so that's the reason the virtual meetings are really superb. As a mother, I cannot able to travel to a Zoom. Even sometimes the financial things are a point. But yes, this kind of meetups give diversity, your thoughts, my thoughts. As I'm working in an IT company in India, we outsource in international market. And as a director of client relation, I am taking care of Drupal vertical also. So in that sense, I'm taking care of my resources, the one who are working for my clients, eventually the clients in the zone. So what a business idea they are having, sometimes I'm getting the clients. Actually, when we started from Drupal 4. It's Drupal 10 now. So very much of transition we have seen the one who made like the website we made in Drupal 5. They want Drupal 7, now Drupal 10. So the migration is, I believe right now a very hot topic is this in a Drupal ecosystem. Simultaneously, I am very much open to have a more contribution here. So the main agenda to join up over here to know like where and how to contribute more in the Drupal ecosystem. So yeah, my next suggestion of the topic is also this, like if we can discuss more like how we can actually contribute, where even me as a non-technical person, but yes, knowing the market, knowing the ecosystem, where I can put my knowledge into the practical environment. So yes.
All right. Well, nice to meet you. And like I said, we do try to be gentle. So if people can't talk or even be on camera, that's absolutely fine. Just to have you here to observe and listen is absolutely wonderful. And so early in the morning. But yeah, you have really good feedback. I think these virtual meetups, the prime thing that I wanted, because I'm very sensitive to user experience and accessibility, is that applies outside of technology. That applies to things like this as well. If you have, you know, mobility issues, then these are sometimes the only things that a person can attend. Or if you just have a busy family, that's valid too.
True.
I'd love to see virtual meetups popping up throughout the world. So I think that it's great to have people attending this one, and please do attend. But if you want to start your own in your area, please consider doing the same. I think it's one of those questions where it's like, why doesn't somebody start this? Sometimes you have to be that person that does that and just take the initiative. But if you need help, it's okay to ask for help. There's nothing wrong with that, and we have a very supportive community in that regard. There was something else I was going to say, but now I forgot it. So anyway.
We are getting colder, yeah?
Yeah, right. Well, look, I think you did bring up another topic though about how can you contribute, and I think that's probably the best question anybody, especially in an open source community, can really ask, and it's not asked enough. So the most obvious answer most people will have at the tip of their tongue is contributing in code from the Drupal issue queue. And not everybody knows how to code, and that's absolutely fine. But other ways that you can contribute are through things like translations and through things like documentation and even helping with events like this. Like the idea of helping to organize people of similar interests. Some of them may be able to code, some of them may be able to do some of the other things that contribute. So it's just even gathering people of different talents and skills is a way of contributing. You're attending this. This is you contributing. So I think that's a part of the reason I asked Tim Lennon. I said, can I use the Drupal.org credit system to credit people who attend these meetups? Is that a valid use of the credit system? He said, absolutely, please do it. And he pointed me in the direction of how to properly do that. So we have a Drupal project for this user group. And then we just create an issue in the issue queue. And then I add all the usernames in there. And that's how that works. And because I did it a few times, and it is really weird to do it because it's like adding a Git commit every time with a Drupal username, not through Git, but through the issue queue. It's weird. So I had to document it because doing that once a month, I forgot every time. But yeah, good to have you. And it's good to have you wanting to commit and contribute. Anybody else? Yeah, go for it.
Thanks. Yeah, I have just one more thought about the virtual meetups, and then I might want to ask about something else. But as I said, yes, I would definitely love to attend one, and it is, I think, pretty much in line from what I can tell from the Drupal community, in line with our values of being inclusive. There's people that cannot go to any DrupalCon, even if they have money, even if they have everything. There's visas and stuff that are preventing them. So I would really love to just attend to one of these virtual meetups. I have another question. You mentioned Drupal Easy, right? As a great resource for starting with Drupal. I stumbled upon two other resources, and I wanted to hear you guys' thoughts on this. I was using Drupalize Me, and also I was starting to do Acquia's courses.
Yep.
Uh,
Yep.
so I wanted to hear your thoughts on them.
I can share my personal thoughts, and I'm curious others. Drupal Easy is more of like a paid mentorship sort of course. It's real on the rails sort of stuff. It's really tailored, especially for beginners in my experience. Drupalize Me is a library of knowledge and generally is updated. It was started by the Lullabot folks, real intelligent. Before Drupalize Me, Lullabot used to actually have Drupal training on DVDs. There were these long form things. So that's actually where I got my start, along with listening to podcasts. That's another thing. If you don't listen to some of the podcasts, it's a good way of getting kind of on the chronology of where we currently are. I wouldn't like Talking Drupal just hit past episode 500, and you don't need to listen to all 500. Just hop on the train. They'll talk about current events, maybe pick and choose some stuff from their more recent back catalog if something interests you, like maybe you don't know about Experience Builder. Well, you're going to hear from some of the experts. So that it's very topical. But yeah, you are right about Drupalize Me being a good resource. And the most, recognizable certification that we have in our Drupal community is the Acquia certs. You have folks that focus just on back end or front end or site building. But you can also have people that become, what's it called, grandmasters or something, that just collect all of them. There's the I think Anya at Kalamuna is a triple grandmaster or something like that, multiple versions. Uh, yeah, there are some people that really go pretty deep into those things because this is their pedigree. I mean, it's what people build their careers around. I mean, we've all of us collectively have decades, if not, you know, collectively centuries of experience in Drupal. I think it's important to know where to start, though. So you're right to ask these questions, Andres. But what do other people think about the resources that he shared, and maybe any others that you might advise?
In our community, Pavlos has a Drupal 11 Grandmaster certificate. He passed all certification, the Drupal 11 and Drupal 10. And yeah, I am as well, but only Drupal 10. I don't know, for about some learning, the best way for me, again, it's just my opinion, you need some project. You need some project and you need to work under some project, small project, doesn't matter. Or just try to reproduce something existing one. Some, I don't know, usually people start from this Drupal commerce. People try to implement Drupal commerce, some website on Drupal commerce, and actually it's a pretty good experience because Drupal commerce, if you're going to implement some kind shop or made a replica from some shop, under the hood they have search, full text search. At least it's in this case you should know Solar, Elasticsearch, or something similar. Next one, it's a template for the web shops. It's a commerce shops itself, or even you need some customization for the template. I think, yeah, for me, this is the best way. Try to implement something existing one, something what
Yeah, I think
what
you
do
have a
you
good
want?
point.
Yeah.
Coming up with even a pet project like your own personal website. Honestly, Drupal seems a bit like overkill for like a personal blog, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you.
But to Andrew's point, that can be a good exercise. It's just, can you do it? How do you do it? There are a lot of new tools to kind of help guide you. A lot of us didn't have AI to guide us through things, and that is now at your disposal. Personally, I like using a local AI tool just because I can use it offline. We lose power in internet here sometimes, so I'll use like LM Studio with something that can help with code at times. But I think another maybe this is just because I'm such a strategist and a UX oriented person. Another area that I like to really focus before getting into the Drupal side of things is what is good navigation? What are good content types? What should pages even look like? And get kind of a picture of what that is before you even say, okay, now how do I do this in Drupal? Because if you just start doing things in Drupal, it's you're grabbing a hammer, now you're looking for nails, and everything's just going to be a bent screw. I think if you start just like archetyping what it is that you want to build. This is literally any website, any framework. You archetype what it is that you want to do, how people are meant to use it, how people are meant to find information. This is the information architect to me. How it is that they want to search. Then you can kind of map things out and say, okay, what tools can I use for this? And in some cases, Drupal is a really good platform for a lot of that. Sometimes it's not. But to Andrew's point, if you can map that out ahead of time, it can get you a big jump start into at least exploring what's available in the community to scratch the itches that you find. Like Drupal Commerce, good example. If you need to create a store in Drupal and you need local product catalogs and shipping and taxes and payment methods, all the stuff to make a full robust store, that's really the solution. There are other ways to do it, but you'll be hard pressed to find a better one. So I guess flipping it over to you, Andrew, where do you work currently? What projects do you currently have available at your disposal to consider for website building?
Are you asking me or other
Sorry,
Andres?
Andrews.
Andres, okay.
Oh. Well, I am working right now for the Okanagan College,
Okay.
and I'm pretty much maintaining their website. So we had a Drupal expert in the team, and she left, and now I am the Drupal expert.
Okay.
So it's been quite hard, but I have learned a lot. Oh my God. So yeah, definitely what I agree with what Andrew said as well. Just working at it has been the best resource for me, but I think that I have been trying to do things my way too much. Just as you said, like I'm just not hard coding, but I'm going against the grain of Drupal, and eventually the current is gonna run me over, you know?
Yeah.
So I wanna get in the correct flow and just get the best standards. And yeah, I actually thought of doing my personal website on Drupal. Yes, it is a bit overkill. I have started already, actually. And this is something that I wanted to share. I found that installing Drupal is so hard.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's me.
It is. It's not you.
Okay.
It can be challenging. It really depends. So is this in a hosting environment that is Drupal friendly, or are you using something to spin it up? Mike, you look like you want to say something.
I was just going to say, I disagree. I think it's totally easy.
What makes it easy for you, Mike?
20 years experience, right?
No, because the front end development got a lot different when Drupal 8 came around and we have Twig, no more PHP template. And yeah, and we started, well, for the most part, people stopped doing annoying things like base themes. Every so often, people are still trying to create them. But in general, like, I really love the Twig templates and, the way to override them. And as long as you have like the develop module showing you all the potential templates you could use and stuff like that. So, there are tricks that I guess you need in order to make it easier, but.
Are we talking about local development or development in a production environment? I guess that can be a distinction too.
Me or him? I don't do
both.
I don't. Yes, at Kalamunda, we're constantly changing people's CSS in their production environments. We'll just change it in production. No, we don't.
Yeah, I'm still doing this one.
Asset injector for the win.
But Andres, are you saying that it's difficult to install, like if you're installing it locally or on a test server? Like, can you elaborate?
Yes, sorry, absolutely. So I did it on an Ubuntu machine, just locally, and yeah, I don't know, I found it kind of hard, like just trying to get the documentation of like going step by step on how to install Drupal. I was following one of Acquia's guides, and maybe it is out of date, and then I tried Googling like the correct step by step, but I ended up doing it. Like it's not as the information is not there, but I just found it a bit hard.
Yeah, I think Drupal.org actually has a guide on it, but you're right. It does a lot of times start from the server level in terms of getting your web server up, your database server up. If you're going to use a search element, maybe getting Solr set up. If you're going to use any sort of caching, you might need to do something with that. If you're not familiar with SSL certificates, there's that. I mean, I think this is still a little bit outside of Drupal, but for anybody new to web development, setting up a local development environment, or even local as in this is my server in my room that I'm going to host an intranet site on, that type of thing. maybe not local dev, which could be virtualized with something like DDev, Docker, that sort of thing. This is a lot to take on when you're just trying to get into the Drupal side of things. Let me just make my content types. Let me just install some modules. Let me just create my theme. So I think that jump, I've long been a complainer about not only installing Drupal, but getting a local development environment set up. And I think that would be a great topic for another virtual meetup. But the reason I say that is because of what you're experiencing. It tends to be a barrier for newcomers, especially if you enjoy the web development side of things, but maybe aren't the best at setting up Linux servers with all their neediness. I've been working with Linux for 2 decades, and still I hate compiling anything from source or troubleshooting issues. A lot of that I don't need to deal with on my Mac or even a Windows machine, but Linux tends to be a little needy in that regard. Personal opinion. Is that what you're talking about in terms of installing Drupal, like that local development environment, virtualization, debug tools, deployment stack into a production environment?
Yeah, well, it's one of my difficulties, not difficulties. I have already passed that step, sort of speak. I was just trying to see if there was like an actual like proper guide or where can I look next time. Yeah, I don't know. I was just sharing my experience.
Well, the official guide, I'm just going to post the link here, is on Drupal.org. I'm not saying that Acquia is bad. I mean, theirs might be better than this one for all I know. But Acquia is also a hosting provider, so they're going to have their perspective considering
Acquia.
potentially their tools.
I have
and
a
if you're
personal BIOS for Acquia.
So Andres, did you follow this link that has been just published in the chat?
Yes.
Do you have any feedback for this particular installation guide? This is how you start with contributing as well. If something is missing, because these are all guides created by volunteers, and if something is missing, if something is wrong, there's a edit button and you can suggest your modifications or changes, or you can say or create an issue, something is missing, this step doesn't work. That's how, as a community, we're trying to bring it all kind of together and move it and get it more comprehensible to everyone as well. Have you read this installation guide? Like, what, if you can remember, like, what was wrong with it? Like, what point didn't make sense?
Well, I am rereading it again. It is like kind of funny, like when you have already done something and then you read it again, like the guide, and then, oh yeah, this makes total sense. But at the time you read it, it's like, what? Yeah, it's kind of makes sense. I'll have to like read it again and tell you my feedback. But I did it with Lando though. I didn't do it with DDev.
It doesn't matter, they're the same. It's
Mhm.
just different types of orchestration of Docker containers. So yeah, anyway, this is where like all this documentation was written also by people who actually done this multiple times, and maybe it's not verbose enough, because they're like, oh, I know how to do it. This is like basically TLDR, a quick guide on how to do it. But maybe for beginners, there has to be a bit more explanation, or maybe more diagrams on what needs to be included and what kind of machine you need and what kind of how the development environment is set up. So yeah, have a look at it, see if you find something that you still remember that is a pain point, and put your comment in to try to maybe update, modify the installation guide.
I think one of the experiences that I've seen, especially for newcomers, is how overwhelming a lot of things can be. It's easy to get lost.
Very easy.
Even if you're a seasoned veteran, once you're starting to really get deep under the hood to figure out how to deal with an issue, that's why the community is so strong. Is we support each other in trying to point people in the right direction. And we're just like we're doing here. I think if you're still getting your start, though, there are just some key areas that you really want to be strong in, no matter what you're doing with Drupal. Obviously, dealing with your install, not just from the perspective of getting it up and running, but keeping it up and running, because there are so many different things that have to be updated. There are new PHP releases that can break stuff. There are new module updates that can break stuff, and being prepared to deal with that. There's the idea of version control. So if you're not familiar with Git, definitely get familiar with Git. There's an old saying in Drupal about how you don't hack core. In other words, you don't change code that can be updated. So if core or even a module is updated in a way and you go to up and you had made a change, it will overwrite that change or just yell at you and say, I'm not going to allow you to update because it's different than what I expect. So that can trip people up that aren't familiar with Drupal. You can edit your own custom modules to your heart's content or your own sub themes. That's not a problem. That's where you typically will do things. And it's an area where you can override stuff. And that's the part that newcomers to Drupal don't immediately necessarily recognize. It's an old saying, don't hack core. And it's
controversial statement.
or it's like killing kittens. There was a band, I think it was the Lullabot folks, made a band called Kitten Killers, specifically about that saying. I digress.
That's not workplace appropriate.
What? Killing kittens?
That's the origination of where that came from.
Well, I think if you're new to Drupal, it's important to understand where you can affect change. And that could be for your project or for the sake of giving back to the community. If you see a contrib module that isn't doing what you want it to do, you can, like some have said, create an issue. You can submit patches for how to address those issues. And if it's a security or a performance or a feature change, those patches can be accepted. And then when you make your next update, you don't have to worry about your patch because it's part of that update. So that's how you make changes to contrib and how you make changes to core. But in your own project, I mean, there are exceptions. In your own project, you may need to have a patch that rolls automatically with builds, and that's a completely different topic. Composer is something that's new as of Drupal 8 on up. We didn't have that really previously, not officially. But in terms of where your focus and your strengths really need to build is obviously your PHP skills. If you're doing anything backend, I think it goes without saying anything web, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and understanding how those apply. I think Mike had a good point. Twig is leaps and bounds better than PHP template was in terms of how that works. You can also use things like Sass or other CSS precompilers. So just understanding what works for you because you're inheriting something. So to navigate that space, you have to identify how was this built? What was done? What can I observe? So anytime I personally get a new website, I'll do an audit top to bottom. What are the content types? What's the menus? What's the taxonomy? How are roles and permissions set up? Just trying to get a sense of how it's put together, what modules are enabled. You don't have to look at all the modules that aren't enabled. They aren't important. But then after you observe like what modules and core things are turned on, go to their config pages too and see how that works. Speaking of config, take a look at how config changes are pushed through code. Understand how that applies to your deployment workflow. Every deployment workflow can be a little bit different. Some are super simple. It's just, code changes and off it goes up to production. If you need to take something from production on down, it's usually the files and the database. Keeping those in sync can keep your sanity when you're trying to do testing. I don't know. I'm now I feel like I'm rambling about stuff that you should pay attention to. But does any of this like kind of trigger anything for you in terms of helping you feel a bit more oriented, or is any of it uneasy?
Well, it's a lot of information. No, but I don't know. I think I where I think I need more guidance, as I was saying, is more like how the Drupal API works, the various APIs works, the hooks, like more backend stuff. I think that's where I'm like doing a lot of like hacks, and instead of going the Drupal way. Also, I this is a question for you guys. How much should someone use tweaks? Like, is that going the Drupal way, or is that like doing it our own way?
You say twig tweaks?
Yeah.
Well, they're fine. The only problem with those is that I have had a couple of cases where things broke updating from, is it 9 to 10 or 10 to 11 now? One of them recently updating it. Like since Twig Tweaks is basically accessing things like, oh, I want to place a block here. It's using all like the plugin IDs and all the configuration for a block as it was. So like if the API or the internal data structure of one of these entities that you're referencing changes in the new version of Drupal, then the Twig Tweaks can fail. But other than that, there hasn't been a downside. You just might need to occasionally update things.
Do you understand entities in Drupal?
Entities?
Yeah, as a data construct.
Kind of. I stumbled upon the entity API and I tried to follow it the other day. So I'm kind of familiar, yes.
It's hard to create your own entity type. I mean, nodes are entities, taxonomy entities, like users entities. So it's more of a
Abstraction layer.
parent. No, well, yeah, a parent class to provide basically the same function names across all those, so you can like load and save. And though now you need your entity type manager interface thing. That I don't know. It's all very complicated in the back end now.
I guess I bring that up not to necessarily tell you, hey, here's everything you need to know about entities, but rather there are going to be these Drupal terms that you're going to see a lot. And without understanding them, it will be a little foreign. So I just linked to Selwyn's documentation. I've actually worked with this fellow. He's great, brilliant dude. But he put together this guide for just kind of dissecting Drupal. And the reason I bring this up is it actually kind of summarizes a lot of very foundational things in Drupal. Entities are certainly one of them, and they're right there in the list. But give yourself some time and poke around in here. Just get oriented, not so much with every nuanced, detailed thing, but just the high level language that's being used here. Because really, any website framework is just trying to organize data in a way that can be expanded upon and connect to other things. I mean, that's like its most fundamental thing. And anything is just by design very opinionated in how to do that. In Drupal 8, we switched from arguably a kind of proprietary way of doing things over to a Symfony-based system. So, Laravel is another Symfony-based system as just a simple example. So the layer, the onion, if you will, got bigger as a result. But a lot of things also got very standardized. So this idea of getting off the island, you'll see that phrase every now and again. That's what it's really referring to, is trying not to be so Drupal centric, but trying to be a little bit more open in the community about doing things. Wow, we got so far from the topic of a virtual conference, and this is wonderful.
Well, another thing, Andres, maybe propose a topic or an issue for the next meetup.
Yeah.
And someone in this community who has hundreds of years of experience might actually have a short 10, 15 minute presentation on, it's like, okay, let's install Drupal in Lando. Here's how you do these things. Or, okay, I have a module and something doesn't work. How do I review it? Or I just got inherited the Drupal project. What do I do now? Like, what's the first step? It's like, here's a couple of modules that you can install. This is what you can have a look. This is the status report and what it shows and things like that. And because I just got inherited Drupal 9.5 and the client says, no, it's 10. I was like, no, it's 9. Anyway, so yeah, one of those topics, or like, how do you actually change the look and feel of a page or of a blog or of content itself, something like that, so that it can be a really quick presentation. Just propose that for the next month. So.
And to your point, Jenna, the Drupal Association has all the videos from past Drupal cons. Obviously, you don't want to go too many years back because then it's potentially irrelevant information. But to that point, there may already be a presentation in there that covers any topic that you might think of. So definitely search the Drupal Association's video library. I mean, it would probably complement a little bit of what you would see in things like Drupalize Me, but they're going to be very specific topics. And you might be able to find the past schedules for DrupalCon to maybe even peruse it that way. But yeah, they're a lot of times longer form, like about an hour, give or take. Sometimes they also include questions from the audience, which can also be an added bonus. You know, people like you who are just trying to cut their teeth on this stuff.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I didn't mean to hijack the
Oh
video.
no, this is precisely why we're here. Awesome. Well, we're getting onto the back end of our time for the meetup. About half an hour left, and I do want to kind of keep this open a little bit. But Jenna, you had a good point. Anybody that has ideas for future topics, I mean, we certainly want to hear those. That list can get long, but we're less focused on how many things we can talk about, but what does everybody really want to talk about? What's topical for current events or things like that. Like, for example, me personally, I cannot wait for Experience Builder to come out. I was really eager for the beta to drop at the end of July, but I think they're still working on a couple extra issues with that. But I'm super excited about that because it's kind of the evolution of past Layout Builder.
I am horrified by everything I've heard about the back end of it.
Yeah.
I've heard that they, talking about the Drupal way, I don't think they're building it the Drupal way. They're just sort of serializing everything or putting in JSON objects or something like that. Like, it's just, at some point when you're not using database tables, you're not really using Drupal, you're just,
yeah.
Front end looks great though.
Yeah, that it does.
I have similar concerns. To me, the structured content is going to be lost in some ways with people throwing their pieces all over the page.
I'm kind of curious both of your concerns on this. If I'm migrating from an old Drupal site, that was built with Experience Builder to a new one, maybe a couple versions in the future from now. Is that one of the bigger concerns, or is your concern about the structure much more foundational and maintainable in nature?
I,
So
I yeah, I feel like the structure is very important. Your data structure and the structured content and being able to control that to some degree beyond just the look and feel of the thing that you're putting together on the fly in some weird code. And I say weird code because I don't know React and I don't code. It's like, what the heck? So, yeah, it's a little scary that way. How do I go in to support a client who's done that and
Yeah.
it breaks?
The interesting bit, I just attended a conference here, and lots of React developers are saying, "Stop using React." It's just too much.
Oh,
It's
it's
like it's
interesting.
just you start it changes too quickly. It's then you still have to render it on the client on the server side. It's like, why not just going back to WordPress or Drupal? It's like that's what React developers saying. And Drupal is going, it's like, oh, React is so cool. Let's go to React. It's like, oh no.
The hammer
In
nail
the end, it's
problem.
just HTML and CSS. It's just, let's keep it simple. But yeah, we'll see. With the experience builders and the layout builder and everything, it's an interesting problem I'm having at the moment, because it's all based on blocks and that content that's not actually properly referenced. So if someone deletes a block, it's not being deleted from actually display. And now you need to have some sort of cleanup of, otherwise you've got all the warnings. And because also people who implement that, they don't really know how to implement it properly. So yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting problem. And yeah.
Like references hell.
Yeah, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
I mean, I think people don't appreciate that Drupal's big strength is the structured content, and that you have content types, you got fields, and everything's all nicely structured and related. And like, anyone who wasn't interested in doing that probably stayed with WordPress, you know. You know,
Or stays
and
with Drupal without Experience Builder being applied.
no,
So,
no, I'm saying people who don't appreciate structured content,
oh yeah,
okay,
okay,
yeah,
all right.
and then yeah, but the problem is that if people don't appreciate the value of structured content and how it makes it easy to work with and accessible and manageable and SEOable, I mean, then yeah, you're like, a client says, oh, I want to drag this here, and then you're like, okay, let's just give you a system, put anything anywhere. It really uh, what's the word? Devalues the idea of like thinking through the structure of a document. And when it comes to
Yeah,
accessibility, and the session I ended up submitting to the Northwest Summit thing was basically how to ensure proper heading structure in these different systems. And so I need to figure out how to do it in Experience Builder if there is a way. Of making sure that there's a proper heading structure to your page. And it's all H2s and H3s and everything. No
yeah,
skip levels, no random levels.
yeah.
And as far as I can tell, Experience Builder was not built with that in mind. Just like with Layout Builder, sort of accessibility is an afterthought.
Yeah, yeah, I've been starting to dabble in it a little bit just to see what's there, and the comments that I'm getting from people who have delved in it a little bit more than I have so far are uh, are a little concerned. So don't know
Bob,
how
it's
that's
nice to
going to
hear. It's
happen.
nice to hear someone else going on my rant.
Well, I talked to someone
Usually
else.
I'm the only one.
I talked to someone else today that was on the same rant. So you're not alone. We're not alone. Well, there are concerns that are going to need to be met, and I'm not sure how that
Yeah,
happens. Yeah.
I had to um, work with some WordPress whooshy designy thing. Oh, God help us all to not to end up in that area. And I'm also supporting a Wix website. And when they say Drupal is slow, it's like, have you actually worked with something that you have to pay for a lot of money, like Wix? It's just, it takes 5 minutes to load it, like in the browser for the actual editor. And it's like, really? Yeah, anyway, so hopefully we're not moving in the wrong direction, or we can keep the Drupal for those who don't want to who see the dark side of flexibility and beautiful designs and
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, the thing is that some shops are invested in Experience Builder, and like if there were a segment of the Drupal community who want to build this thing and use it for their sites, go for it. We have always had like lots of different ways to do things and different contributed modules and stuff. It's just, the thing that concerns me is declaring that it's the future of Drupal before they even have a working prototype. And saying we're going that way and that's what we're doing, and it's counter of what Drupal is built on, which was basically trying things out in contrib before they actually get moved to core, and actually getting a critical mass of people who agree that it's the best way to do things before you actually commit the entire community to it. And the whole Starshot thing was just like, that's what it is, a star shot, because it's like, oh, we're failing, so we better do a long shot, to try to save Drupal, and I don't think they're gonna stick it. So
Yeah,
hinging.
especially when you have someone new coming into the community, some new developer, and they're having issues with just trying to install it with documentation and trying to, it's like, oh no, like we don't really care about documentation. Let's just run away with something really fancy with AI plugins and chatbots and whatever they call them, agents, and something that will be a huge technical depth in the end. So,
I mean, here's the thing. It's just like, Dries has been up there at every single Dries note for the last, 15 years saying Drupal needs to be more enterprise level, blah, 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 blah. Let's do Symfony. That's enterprise level, more object-oriented program, all this stuff. And then now we're just turning around. Oh, regular people can't use it. And it's like, why the hell do you think we've been complaining about your enterprise level stuff for the last, 15 years? Because it's enterprise level is the opposite of accessible to like regular people in small organizations.
Yeah, enterprise level tends to come with a license fee, like Sitecore or something like that. I don't know. I don't want to say that Drupal isn't capable of enterprise level things. I'm not necessarily saying that, but it
no.
has a broader scale than most solutions, and we can't neglect either side of the scale.
Enterprise level comes with consultancy perks. So in Australia, GovCMS is a distribution of Drupal. Now it's Drupal 10, and they're working on Drupal 11 porting. So a lot of government websites on federal level and some state levels using the GovCMS distribution. So it's very capable of enterprise and large loads and everything. The issue is that Microsoft or Sitecore comes with really deep pockets, and they take all these politicians or whoever is in IT departments doing procurement and saying, hey, let's go to lunch. And this is how they migrate from Drupal into Sitecores, into SharePoints, into Adobe Experience, whatever, where they actually now spending triple the money for some closed source solution thing. And on the big consultancy companies where Drupal shops, they're all pretty small. Like there were some attempts from EY or whatever this big four to go into Drupal, but they saw that it's actually, you actually cannot just win it Like you actually have to be technically capable in it. And then they just gave it up. But that's the tendency of the corporate world now. They're not looking into open source for solutions. They're just looking for nice and shiny things.
I find that things like healthcare, higher education, even municipalities, they still consider open source a lot of times, especially from a security perspective. But private businesses tend to steer other ways.
Back to capitalism.
Yeah.
That's
And
the
it
problem.
comes at a cost. I mean, everything comes at a cost, but it does come at a cost. There's a reason most of the internet runs on Linux. I'll at least say that much. All right. Well, since we are getting pretty close to the end, I wanted to kind of open the floor for everybody. Is there anything that you wanted to promote or anything that you'd love to consider for next virtual meetup?
Just a reminder for whoever wasn't here from the beginning, Drupal South. It's a conference based in Australia and New Zealand. Will be held next year in May. There is a link somewhere in the chat. It's in New Zealand, Wellington, the homeland of hobbits. So plan your holiday. It's a 2-day conference plus 1-day code sprint. It's nice and cozy, and it will be autumn or fall in that time of the year. That's quite nice.
Sounds lovely.
Shanna, do you have a link for your virtual meetups in Brisbane?
Brisbane doesn't have a meetup anymore. There is one in Melbourne. So that's a virtual meetup, and there is a GovCMS meetup. I'll quickly Google it and I'll post it in the chat.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have anything to promote or would love to see next time?
Yeah, maybe we should advise Dries to organize this is lunch for promotion Drupal for like a upper level.
I'll have some people talk to some other people, see if we can do that.
Yeah, or we can ping it in LinkedIn.
There you go. That's the GovCMS. Is that the distribution?
So they run meetups every month as well. Everyone's welcome to join. I don't know if they're recording it or not. And they'll have a big community week in November. And there will be a community day in November in Canberra, but that's Canberra. I'm trying to find Drupal meetup in Melbourne because they moved away from Meetup. That's another issue with meetup.com. It just became unusable.
Yeah, we left that mostly because it cost money, and I didn't want to pay for something. So I moved over to a platform called Luma, which is free.
Yeah, it was just a bad experience as well.
Yeah, it was getting kind of weird. I find that it's good for like local stuff, in-person stuff. That's all right, but anything beyond that, not so much. Anybody else?
Bending Spoons. Meetup got acquired by Bending Spoons.
There you go. Maybe that's part of
I'm
it.
sure they'll make it wonderful.
Kind of like Eventbrite now.
I think it's gotten worse, but yeah.
Yeah, I think think the Portland meetup moved away from that too.
Yeah.
Portland meetup is mostly like in a food cart. So
There are worse places. All right. Anybody else have anything that you wanted to promote or anything that you need from our community?
When's the next one of these?
Oh, nice question.
What's your date?
So I'll post the link for Luma, which is also in our meetings notes document. So the whole schedule is up on Luma right now. And you can sign up for upcoming meetups there as well. So it has the whole thing. But the basic idea, just to be clear, is the first Wednesday of every month from 6 to 8 p.m. Pacific time.
Okay.
Unless no one shows up, then I just close it down, which has yet to happen. So, with that in mind, thank you all very much for attending. Please definitely join us in the future. We do also have a Slack channel. So if you aren't a part of the Slack channel, that's really where most of the conversation about what's coming up occurs. So I'll put that link in here as well. If you aren't part of Drupal Slack in general, you really should join. I mean, that's where a lot of community stuff does happen.
Right.
But yeah, that's the Slack channel for, and this is a mouthful, the Pacific Time Virtual Drupal Users Group. Good stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank
All right.
you.
Well, thank you all
Thank
for
you.
attending. Hope to see you
Thanks
next
for
time.
hosting.
Yeah.
Of course.
Nice to
My
meet
pleasure.
you all.
Thank you. Thank
Bye,
you so
guys.
much.
To meet you. Yeah. Bye
Take care.
bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.